Let's go. Let's start in the cockpit. At the moment you can see as the engines are tilted, the back section is slid forward and there's no cushions, so it's nice and easy to see the storage options. There's heaps of storage all the way around here, and I'm going to show you what we do with the different sections. In this one here, we just keep lots of different easy to reach items such as the hose. We actually keep our shore power in here because it stays out of the weather, and Damien's got some fishing tackle. We also keep things like snorkel and fins and those sorts of things. The next section we've got over to the side here, we've actually got all of our 12 life jackets in here. It's nice and deep, they're stacked really tight. This sometimes can get a little bit of weather in the rain. Even though we do have the canvas around the edges, the rain tends to come down here, so we try to avoid having anything like shore power and those sorts of things in this side here. The next section here actually stays really dry. We've got the sea pen motor here, and we've got things like easy to access ropes when we pull up to berths and those sorts of things. So it's just a nice compact little section here. As I said, at the moment the seating's brought forward. There is an extra storage compartment at the back here. We did used to keep our shore power in here, but we've decided it gets a little bit too much weather, so we've got it in up out of the weather. The important thing to note here is you can't actually access this when the seats are slid back. So you just turn it, and there's just a little section in here for some more storage. Again, you can't access it when the seats are slid back. Let's have a look underneath in the lazarette section. There's a whole big storage area section under here. Obviously, because we don't have inboards, we've got outboards. There's a lot of capacity for storage underneath. To access the lazarette, there's actually a little pull ring, but we tie a rope to it so it's easy to pull up. So just grabbing here, and the lazarette opens nice and easily like this, even when the seats are forward. So we're going to go down and have a look how deep and wide it is and what we actually do with this space. Let's go down. We've got a ladder for easy access down into our lazarette. I believe that's an optional extra, and it's got these little lugs here to keep it in place. You can move it to the sides. It's nice and deep. You can see I'm standing up here. There's a whole storage area under here. We actually keep our generator under here. And cool thing is, I love my Nespresso. So I actually bought a sewing machine bag, and we've got our Nespresso stored in a sewing machine bag, which is pretty cool. So that sits under there as well. We've also got, Damien's got more fishing tackle, boxes and that sort of thing under here. Under this section here, it's really deep. We've got a couple of fishing rods and a yabby pump, and it goes all the way back, probably all the way to the back where the engines are. I'm just going to move this to the side here. The great part about the lazarette is there's two lids so that you can actually have a storage section under here, and lifting up, there's two different storage sections either side. It's really important to note that this is the lowest part of the boat, which means if any water comes in, it's likely to sit in this lowest point here. So you would need to make sure you don't store any electrical equipment. For example, we don't put our Nespresso machine and those sorts of things. We put different materials in here that we don't need to access all the time. So we've got a little bucket. Cool thing is when we're doing yabby pumping, Damien's made up this little sieve thing, so you put the sand in and get the yabbies. We've got our collapsible bucket. We've also got some incidental equipment, spare anchor, and some rope. So as I said, we don't access this area all the time, but a great storage space. On the other side, we've got a 330 amp battery. So that's pretty much all there is space for storage here. I believe it's kind of two of me, the weight of this. It took Damien and two rather strong guys to get it in under here. So that's the battery. Not much room for anything else other than the two batteries, obviously the starter battery and the house battery. So that's all tucked away. And again, loving how there's these lids here so you can actually store on top of this area. Let's go into the cabin now and see the different storage options and how we've laid everything out. Stepping inside the cabin now, we've obviously got the galley section here where we've got a fantastic sink and stovetop. One really cool thing we came up with, we've got a little timber cutting board that we put over the sink, and it's just extra bench space when the lid is up. Then we move it over onto here, and I put a tea towel on here and put the dishes there when I'm washing up. So it just maximizes the use of this space. Coming underneath to this section, really nice deep drawer. We've actually got a cutlery organizer in here and just different things that you need while you're underway. We've got our chamois, we've got sunscreens and different Ziploc bags and those sorts of things. So just a nice neat organizer to lay everything out. Moving into this section, what I wanted to do when we first got Antoinette was have stackable plates, cups and mugs. So I got this great plastic bowls and plates, and you can see in here it stacks nicely. So we've got plates and bowls enough for actually 6 or 8 people. We've got a collapsible kettle, again, great use of space, and all our pots and pans actually stack on top of each other to maximize the space. We have a stackable mug section. I actually really don't like drinking my coffee out of plastic, so these are crockery, and we've never had any problems when we're underway. So we have a stackable unit here, and then we've got our wine glasses, obviously plastic, stacked at the back there. These are really fantastic too. They are collapsible containers, just great for when you've got extra food that you want to pop into the fridge. Then we've got our cutting boards to the side and just some cleaning equipment over here. This draw's a little bit of a struggle to open. Those of you who do own a Merry Fisher 895 will know, but we use this as our pantry. So you've got the stackable section here for wine or oil. I know a lot of people who own the Merry Fisher have actually taken that section out. We still use it. Then we keep all of our sort of pantry items in here. Obviously we're not out at the moment, so this section is fairly empty. So you can see it's self-closing, and it's actually quite heavy. Keeping it open, I use my knee. Self-closing, nice and heavy so that it doesn't just fly open when you're underway if you forget to do the clickable door handles. One thing we were worried about when we first got this boat was the fact that it only had one fridge. In our previous boat, we had 2 fridges. This fridge is so deep, and you can organize it with different containers, and it stacks quite easily. We've actually stored enough food inside the fridge and the pantry for 2 or 3 nights quite easily if you just get organized with containers. So let's have a look to see how deep the fridge here is. And then you've got a freezer section up here as well. Actually really deep. Couple of shelves, goes all the way back, that deep in my arm. I know some people have set up their rubbish system so that when they open this door, the bin opens. What we've decided to do is utilize this section here next to the captain's seat. So we've got this little bin here that we just sit in there and it doesn't move. We also store our drinking water in this plastic container here. I know you can drink the water inside the tanks of the Merry Fisher 895s, but we just like to bring our own water, and that sits really nicely to the side of the captain's chair, and it's just easy access with the tap. Let's go underneath now and have a look at all the different storage areas in the mid cab, the main cabin, and in the head. Moving down into the stateroom now, first and most importantly, where do the puppies sleep? They actually sleep under this little section under the front bed here. We've got the inset in, which makes the bed a bit bigger, so they actually love being all cozy under there together. Now, given this is a queen size bed, the storage underneath is really fantastic. It's on hydraulic lifters. So I'll show you what we do with the storage under there, but before I lift it up, it's important to note that there is actually a little door under the front here where you can access without having to lift the whole bed up. But let's have a look. So we tend to store our towels, our toilet paper, and any additional, just different things that we might need to access while we're overnighting, with additional guests like plates and those sorts of things live in there quite nicely. Moving inside now, we've actually got these overhead cupboards, which I believe are optional extras. Now, a tip for the females: make sure you get the starboard side cabinets, because the gunnel along the side is actually wider on the starboard side, which means these little cupboards overhead here are a lot deeper on this side than they are on that side. So I've claimed this side. They're actually really deep. Excellent for just popping your clothes in there when you're overnighting. We've also got this little extra storage space in here, which we just store our glasses and those sorts of things. So as you can see, this side is nowhere near as deep as the starboard side. Obviously they're all clickable, so they stay shut when you're underway. Lastly, in the stateroom, we've got hanging space here, which is fantastic. We actually leave clothes in here so that we know we've always got jumpers and those sorts of things. Lots of hanging space, and again, closes up nicely, all neat and tucked away. So lots of storage for your clothes while you're at anchor. Let's go down under the mid cab now and have a look at the storage under there. Moving into the mid cab now, as soon as you walk into the entrance, there's a nice little cupboard space here. We actually would love to hear your ideas of what you guys have done here. Damien wants to put a shelf here, but basically we've just got some tools and those sorts of things. Little shelf. We've got some stackable containers. Now, those of you who have a Merry Fisher 895 typically will probably use this space in here to store the cushions. There are so many cushions that you use when you've got a Merry Fisher. You've got the bow cushions, and you've obviously got your daybed cushions for the back deck, and then obviously the daybed for the galley space. So they all need to live somewhere. Typically they live in this space here, all piled up on top of each other, and Damien tends to leave a surfboard on board just in case he needs to grab a surf while we're at anchor. You can see on the other side of the stacked cushions there's a section. We actually use that section for storing things like doonas and pillows, just in case we have guests come on board while we're at anchor. This section under here is really versatile. Great use of storage for all of our cushions, but it's also a double bed as well, so you can have 2 additional guests berth overnight with you. Last room, we're moving into the head. Lots of headroom in here. But the most important thing is there's just a little cabinet here. We store all of our first aid kit and our toilet paper, obviously, and hand wash and shampoos and those sorts of things. Thanks for joining me for a tour of the storage options on board our Merry Fisher 895. If you like that video, please hit the like button and subscribe. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Rudder.